I'm Greg Jarrett, and you're in the strategy room. U.S.-Israeli relations might be reaching a new low after suggestions that the White House might not have Israel's back at the United Nations going forward. This comes after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's last-minute election pledge that he's opposed to the creation of a Palestinian state. Here with reaction are political strategists Basil Michael Jr. and Lee Carter. Welcome to both of you.
Good to be here.
Lee, this election may lead President Obama to back an anti-Israel resolution in Congress. Is that a sad chapter in the two nations' once close relationship?
It's a really, really sad chapter. I mean, they're one of our closest allies. We have stood together, and I think that what we need to do right now is separate out the relationship between Netanyahu and the Israeli people. And right now, I think that Obama isn't doing that. And the fact that he didn't even call and congratulate him at the end of this is really a slap in the face.
Yeah, I mean, what's up with that? British Prime Minister Cameron, Canadian Prime Minister Harper immediately picked up the phone and said, congratulations. My goodness, even Iran within a day congratulated Netanyahu. You know, it's not going to happen anytime soon, apparently, according to the White House.
I'm not exactly sure why that's the case. I mean, you just call the guy. That in and of itself is not a big deal. In other words, I think he should have called the guy. I don't understand why he wouldn't. But to your point, I do
Isn't
think
it a little silly and maybe a little childish?
Who knows what's going on between those two? I have no idea. But I do think that there is a separation between Netanyahu and the Israeli people. But I don't think that in terms of how the president is reacting, but I don't think that necessarily changes the United States' support for Israel. We've given them the most money since of any country since World War II in aid. I don't think that's going to stop. I don't think it'll be reduced because they're a critical ally in the region. But I don't expect the relationship between Netanyahu or Obama to thaw at all anytime.
Senator Marco Rubio, Lee, said that Obama shows more respect for Iran than he does for Israel.
I mean, a lot of what he's doing right now is symbolic gestures. By not calling, it's a symbol. And we're going to say that the relationships are good and that the rest of the world can't separate it. When you won't go and shake somebody's hand, the rest of the world notices it. If you won't make the phone call, the rest of the world notices it. If you don't go, it says something to the American people. And I think what he's saying is I'm not supporting you right now. And I think that it's a big problem.
Try to understand, I suppose, Netanyahu's position. He feels as though the U.S., President Obama, has offered so many concessions to Iran that any deal is inherently bad, existentially bad for Israel. And, you know, they're nearby, and they are a small country that could be wiped out.
Well, I think Netanyahu's talking points on this indicate that there is this grand deal that the president has made or is about to make that puts the lives of Israelis in jeopardy. Secretary Kerry has repeatedly said there is no grand deal, and there will be no deal that leads to Iran having a nuclear weapon. He said that very plainly. And so I think part of the problem here is that we seem to be focused a lot more on Benjamin Netanyahu's talking points and narrative on this issue than our own president's narrative on this issue. That in and of itself is a huge problem. But I think underlying all of that is a firm belief that the president will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapons. And I think what seems to happen is that there is a failure of communication with Benjamin Netanyahu on that point. And maybe it's for Netanyahu's own personal political end. I mean, he won re-election in part because of his statement. So maybe we'll see a thaw as a result of that.
You know, Lee, there is actually a pretty fine line between a country becoming nuclear capable and nuclear active. Is it real or unreal for Netanyahu to believe that President Obama is readily allowing Iran to become a nuclear threshold nuclear power?
You know, I think what's interesting is that you can go ahead and ask the American people what they think. If you ask the American people what they think, 83% of them think that Iran is a threat. And I think that, you know, we've got to take that very, very seriously. And so you said something about the narrative of Netanyahu is winning. Well, it is because it's strong. When people are afraid, and 83% of Americans are afraid, They need a strong narrative, and Obama's not leading them to believe that he really is going to draw this hard line, as you say. I think it's really important that we understand where he really does stand. He's not laying it out for us. Kerry's over there right now, and we're not really sure what's going to happen.
Well, it's hard to do that when the Republican Congress invites Netanyahu to speak at a joint session without the White House's approval or even a heads up to them. So I think our own government, our own legislature, has provided a platform where the president becomes undermined, and it makes it difficult for that narrative to come.
Lee, final question. Which is better, no deal or a bad deal for the United States?
No deal.
All right. Wow. I didn't expect that. And because I'm out of time, we're just going to let you wonder about that. Basil and Lee, thanks very much.